My dear people of the southern Cameroons, lately I was talking here about relations between our self-defense volunteers and the church. You will say it's as if I knew that La République du Cameroun was soon going to find themselves locked in a serious, deadly battle with the church. Right now, it's not sounding easy. It is what I call an epic battle of the most dreaded egugus on both sides. Light and darkness are clashing. And right now, it's definitely not easy. This is still just the 8th day of the first month of the year 2025. A lot has already happened. So much is already going on. So much tension. So much confusion. So much, even confusion of roles. Oh my goodness. We haven't seen anything yet. We are still at Genesis. By the time we get to Malachi, I'm sure by the month of March, oh my goodness, it's going to be something else. And like I said, I always told the people of La République du Cameroun that we, the people of Ambazonia, the people of the former UN Trust territory of British Southern Cameroons, will have the last laugh. They thought it was a joke. Now look at this. They have gone so impetuous right now that they have launched a complete assault against the church. Not only the Catholic Church, any church minister that makes any declaration that seems like telling people, get out of your slumber, you are going to face the sledgehammer immediately. If you are doubting, let's take a short trip to the Noon. The Noon division is in the west region of La République du Cameroun.
À Fumban, dans le département du Noun, où le révérend pasteur Yves Foncha a finalement été entendu. Souvenez-vous, il avait été interpellé par la police après une prédication où il invitait les Camerounais, en tout cas ses fidèles, à prendre leurs responsabilités à main en faisant le bon choix lors des prochains scrutins. Alexis Yangwa.
Before I go into that report, you heard what she said. That this Reverend Pastor, Yves Foncha, his name is Yves Foncha, he was arrested by the police after a church service, after an ecumenical service. This was an ecumenical service organized by the mayor of Fumban. The mayor of Fumban is Tumaino Damjoya, as the wife of the deceased former minister and president of the CDU party, Dr. Adamu Damjoya. And so during this ecumenical service, Reverend Pastor Yves Foncha called on the people to be wise in 2025. He recounted, he mentioned all the challenges that the people have witnessed for 42 years and told them that in 2025, you must make a wise choice, a choice that will take into account your aspirations for change. That did not go well. That did not go well with the local authorities in Fumban. And so immediately, soon after the ecumenical service, Reverend Pastor Yves Foncha was arrested. Here now.
Cheminons-nous vers l'autocensure de la parole des ministres de culte au Cameroun et dans la région de l'Ouest en particulier. Devront-ils se taire face à la misère qui ronge les fidèles et leur parler uniquement de la vie après la mort et de belles choses qui meublent le paradis? Voici les propos qui auraient valu la convocation le 27 décembre 2024 du révérend pasteur Yves Foncha Méfiré par le commissaire de police, chef de l'antenne opérationnelle de surveillance du territoire de Fumban.
Nous déclarons avec l'autorité prophétique qui nous a été conférée que Dieu ne laissera pas ce pays sombrer dans le désespoir. Il suffit.
Did you hear that? He said, after recounting the challenges being faced by his Christians, the suffering, the torture, the hardships, and everything, he said, God will not allow this country to somber in the hands of forces of darkness. And now he went ahead to urge his Christians to make sure that in 2025 they do the right thing. Like I said, This is not what La République du Cameroun wants to hear. You saw a summons there. This pastor is called Ifoncha Mefere. He is of Bamoun origin himself. He lives with the people. He preaches to the people every Sunday. He sees the challenges that the people are going through. Just like the Reverend Fathers. I was reading a write-up on social media forum where someone said, you find priests battling to to say masses at least 4 to 5 burials in one day. And at each scene, they feel what those people went through before passing. And so, in their mind, they know they are touching directly the misery of the people. And so, the indifference that they had become known of over the years, at some point, must give way. And this is what is unraveling right now. Let's follow again.
Il y aura certainement des hommes, à l'image de Jéroboam, capables de changer la donne et redonner de l'espoir au peuple camerounais. Oui, il faut que le peuple camerounais ait la chance d'avoir des hommes comme Jéroboam et que ce peuple soit aussi capable de suivre le leader charismatique qui va prendre la résolution de changer. Parce qu'il faut une révolution mentale dans ce pays. Il faut qu'il y ait des hommes qui soient capables de dire non à un certain nombre de choses.
Et le président de la
Did you hear that? He said, you need somebody like Jeroboam in the Bible who stood up against injustice and changed things for the people. And he said, when that comes, the people should have the courage to pick that charismatic leader endowed with the capacity to turn things around. And he also said they should pick people who will have the capacity, who will have the courage to say no to certain practices, to say no to certain things. This is exactly what I've been telling the people of the Southern Cameroons. For a long time, for 42 years at least, I want to leave the other years behind, we have some people calling themselves elite in our midst, members of the CPDM crime syndicate, who have been sending people to sleep by claiming each day that, oh, you see, Paul Biya is the best thing that ever happened. None of them has ever had the courage to stand up to the genocidal regime in Yaoundé and say, enough, you cannot continue killing my people. None of them stood up to defend the interests, even of one of them, one who was with them before, Aya Paul Abine, the retired late Chief Justice Aya Paul Abine. When that government confiscated his pension, his money that was cut over the years, over 40 years, and saved to be paid to him when he goes on retirement, it was confiscated. None of them raised a little finger. Moja stood up in Buea, went and captured a pregnant woman, tortured her morally in every way possible, and even finally had her thrown in jail. Only crime that she had previously dated Braveheart No Pity, the self-defense volunteer. That was her only crime. None of these people ever stood up to them. Not Bella Moki Charles. No. Not Mukete. No. Not Atanga Nji, who he said that's the best thing that ought to have been done. No, none of them. Not Fru Jonathan. Not Fru Callistus Gentry. No, not Ufe Chinjemelo. None of them. None of them. My people of Ambazonia. That is all that this Reverend Pastor said to his parishioners during an ecumenical service, to find himself summoned and then detained. Let's finish.
Région de Grand Nord de l'église d'évangélisation par le Christ décentralisé d'ajouter
Qu'il y a lieu de libérer le peuple pour qu'il soit lui-même acteur et participant à la construction de son bien-être. Parce que par la décentralisation, le peuple pourra se prendre en charge. Et c'est ce que Jéroboam a décidé de faire avec le peuple du nord d'Israël. Il est clair, mesdames et messieurs, que si vous voulez rester dans la situation qui est celle que nous vivons actuellement, vous allez, comme Madame le maire a dit, récolter ce que vous avez semé.
Period. He told the people, if you want to continue to stay in the current circumstances, you want to continue to stay in the situation that you live the kind of life that you have lived this 42 years. And that's what I tell the people of Amazonia. If you want to continue to live the kind of life that you have lived this 62 years and counting, is it 62? 65 years and counting, then we will have only ourselves to blame. That is why we must kick La République du Cameroun out of our land. At last, the people of La République du Cameroun are recognizing that their country is hell. I said here several times it was hell. Some of our denizens came and said, oh, you are doing fear mongering. Oh, you are making people to panic. Oh, you are causing. When I told our brethren who are still hanging on to La République du Cameroun, make hay while the sun shines, because the time is coming soon when pigs will beg for wings to fly. You see, he said that if you allow yourself in those kind of circumstances, you will only harvest what you have sown. And that was more than enough for him to be summoned. Now, you see, he made that declaration. That declaration was made around the same time that the bishop of Yagua made this one too.
Bleu peut prendre le Cameroun. On ne va pas souffrir plus que ça encore. On a déjà souffert. Le pire ne viendra pas. Même le diable, qu'il prenne d'abord le pouvoir au Cameroun et on verra après. Amen.
Amen.
So, that came after that. So, this one demonstrates beyond reasonable doubt that within the church, the scales are falling from the people's eyes. That within the church, the scales have literally fallen completely, and the people are beginning to see much clearly. And so the prelate now, the evangelicals, are rising to tell the people they just find it hard to say what those people of Southern Cameroon have been saying for the past 8 years was not only true, but exceptionally true, but especially true, but even beyond true. My people of Amazonia, it requires just that. Just these few ones. I talked about Reverend Pastor Sosten Bayemi. I had shown his own. I talked about Monseigneur of the Archbishop Cleda. In fact, there are many. I've shown you some. And now, the government of La République du Cameroun cannot stay indifferent. And you see the way they are reacting in disjointed and confused ranks. In disjointed and confused ranks. When I was analyzing the speech of Mr. Biya yesterday, I told you there was a statement he made. That there was one thing Mr. Biya made. That one statement he made. And I'm going back to it, where he said, improving governance also means stepping up the fight against corruption and misappropriation of public funds. This ensures legal protection for private investment and land tenure security where abuses have been noted. Let me assure you of one thing. Appropriate sanctions will be meted out on those found guilty of such offenses. And again, I said yesterday that there is a list of both active and former members of government in La République du Cameroun that has been constituted as those who will be sacrificed, as Mr. Biya will be seeking to send the public reeling, shouting and dancing on another sphere while he secures himself another 7-year mandate as he has always done. And among those people are Atanga Nji. You will discover that Atanga Nji has suddenly forgotten what role he plays in that government. He is now everywhere because you are going to see a fight among those ministers, everybody trying to show Paul Biya as much as possible how useful they still are in a bid to see if they could be reconsidered for sacrifice another time, not this 2025, because they are all sacrifices. And so that is why Atanga Nji has immediately gone on the offensive against the judge. Listen.
Le ministre de l'administration territoriale a suffisamment d'éléments à l'encontre de certains Camerounais inconscients, responsables des partis politiques et associations ONG, aux ordres. Et certaines associations...
Il says, le ministre de l'administration territoriale a suffisamment des éléments. That the Ministry of Territorial Administration has every avenue, has all the powers. He's no longer saying the government. Mr. Atanga Nji is now the law. He has forgotten what role he is. Minister of Territorial Administration is not Minister of Defense. He's not Minister, or he's not a Delegate General for Internal Security that's in charge of the police. He's not the Secretary of State in charge of the gendarmerie. No, that's not his role. But Atanga Nji say, I have the entire arsenal to teach a lesson to anyone, political party leaders, leaders of associations, and all whatnot, who he says are purportedly acting on behalf of some dark forces.
Les religieux qui brandissent l'épouvantail du chaos en 2025 si leurs objectifs mafieux ne sont pas atteints. Toutes ces personnes qui jettent de l'huile sur le feu n'ont qu'à bien se tenir durant toute l'année 2025.
He said those who are ready to bring chaos and all those who are pouring oil on fire. Here Atanga Nji is telling them in 2025 stand well. The whole of 2025 stand well because he already promised Molinex before now. That's the blender. He also promised serpent affamé now. That's an angry serpent now, or hungry serpent.
Il n'y aura pas d'espace pour les fauteurs de troubles, quel que soit leur titre ou grade. L'ordre public sera maintenu et renforcé.
Oh, no space for troublemakers, whatever their titles and grades, because the public force will be brought down. Atanga Nji. Continue.
En toutes circonstances, force restera à la loi. Plus que jamais, je mets en garde les responsables des associations et ONG aux ordres, les politiciens complotistes et conspirationnistes, contre tout acte malveillant susceptible de perturber l'ordre public tout au long de l'année 2025. Force restera à la loi.
Oh, what happened?
Le ministre de l'administration territoriale a...
Atanga Nji, hold on first. He says, force, the force of law, I mean the law will hammer, boom, 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 throughout 2025. While Atanga Nji is saying there, they will not care about the grade, the rank, or the what. But you know, his target is actually the church, the Catholic Church. But even there, he is afraid. Although he throws tantrums and all not, makes insinuations, he is afraid to call it. He claims that he will grind everyone. But you see that even the police or the gendarmerie or whatever, they easily fell on the Yves Foncha, on Reverend Pastor Yves Foncha Mefere, because he's a pastor of another, religious congregation, not Catholic. Because with the Catholic, they are afraid. Because with the Roman Catholic Church, it's a state. It's a state. And Paul Atanga Nji knows so well the power that they wield and that they have refused to use over the years.
Suffisamment d'éléments à l'encontre de certains Camerounais inconscients, responsables des partis politiques et associations ONG, aux ordres. et certaines associations religieuses qui brandissent l'épouvantail du chaos en 2025 si leurs objectifs mafieux ne sont pas atteints. Toutes ces personnes qui jettent de l'huile sur le feu n'ont qu'à bien se tenir durant toute l'année 2025. Il n'y aura pas d'espace pour les fauteurs de troubles, quel que soit leur titre ou grade. L'ordre public sera maintenu et renforcé. En toutes circonstances, force restera à la loi. Plus que jamais, je mets en garde les responsables des associations et ONG aux ordres, les politiciens complotistes et conspirationnistes contre tout acte malveillant susceptible de perturber l'ordre public tout au long de l'année 2025. Force restera à la loi. Le ministre de l'administration territoriale a suffisamment...
You see, that is Paul Atanga Nji promising fire and brimstone, but at the same time, knowing that there will be limits to the trash that he is saying. That's not even his goal. Because all those threats and all whatnot, the bully pulpit doesn't belong to the Minister of Territorial Administration. The person who should come out and communicate this is the Minister of Communication, not the Minister of Territorial Administration. Atanga Nji is now combining Minister of Territorial Administration, Minister of Communication, Delegate General for National Security, Secretary of State for the Gendarmerie, Minister of everything combined to himself in frantic efforts to see if he could be saved from the COVID money he embezzled, from the numerous instances of embezzlement he was involved in, and especially because he's also involved in the trafficking of weapons, of war weapons. That's another dossier that is hitting his brain. But while he was there making all that noise, over in Buea, the bishops of Cameroon have been meeting. And there, Mr. Paul Biya dispatched the governor. Of course, governors have always read, read welcome addresses whenever the bishops go calling. But this time is different. You see Okalia Bilai there in this picture with the bishop of the Buea diocese, Bishop Biya. So, as you must have heard, a lot of instructions was dished out to the governor to do the best he could to ensure that the level of hospitality is beyond imagination. Because the government of La République du Cameroun is thinking of too many avenues, both attack and cajoling. So the government of La République du Cameroun is imagining two approaches. That is, using the carrot and the stick. So while they will be doing subtle threats, they will also be trying behind the scenes to ship bags of money and all other kinds of goodies. The question that's on several lips today is, will the men of God, will the men and women of God stay the steam? Or would they titillate the people and then chicken in when they receive little brown envelopes here and there? That is something we are still to see. That is what makes the stakes of this seminar of the bishops of Cameroon in Buea extremely high. At no time have expectations been so high following the holding of a seminar by the bishops of Cameroon. It's something that is routine every year. But this year, the stakes are too high and the expectations have gone over the roof. You can see this even on social media, as both encouragements and threats are the order of the day. And so, while the government of La République du Cameroun is threatening and then going behind and sending delegations to go see this men of God, they are using the press and Atanga Nji to come out there and scream and say there could be consequences. So as these bishops are meeting in Buea, the tension is rife. I mean, the tension is real. Because you see, I showed you these newspapers the other day, and I still want to go back to some of them today, where you see they say, opposant à Biya, opposant au peuple et à Dieu. Where you see they're showcasing, so I'm trying to say, oh no, that picture there is trying to suggest that if you are against Paul Biya, you are going to be against the Pope because Paul Biya has relations at the highest level of the Catholic Church. That's a certain message they try to send. As if that is not enough, they come up with another one. They say, les prêtres recherchent le gombo et les prados neufs à Paul Biya. So they are pointing out here that the bishops or the church or the men and women of God are rising to make a noise because they want to raise the bargains to get brand new cars and huge envelopes from the government of Mr. Paul Biya. And you see, this is a pattern because the intention is to make sure that they turn even the Christians against their shepherds. The reason is simple. Because if these men of God suddenly go quiet, go numb, and start saying, no, 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 let there be peace, let there be this and that, just talking about peace without talking justice, as we have been decrying in the southern Cameroons, obviously the people will come to one simple conclusion, that the men in Kasok have received money, have received bribes from the government of President Paul Biya. And then, if they don't receive, the government of President Paul Biya is in total threat. Like you see here, they say, ces évêques invoquent Satan à diriger le Cameroun. So you see, this kind of pressure should be telling enough for anyone that knows that system, that the government of La République du Cameroun is at this point in time in panic mode. Even with all those newspapers making that noise, even with Atanga Nji coming out and screaming the way he screamed, that has not been judged enough. As the Minister of Communication also came out with a lengthy press release, which reads, during the past few days, or the title is the government statement, declaration by certain bishops of the Roman Catholic Church on the 2025 presidential election in Cameroon. It says, during the past few days, more specifically following the head of state's end of year message to the nation, we have been witness to various reactions on mainstream and social media from our fellow citizens, including those of some prelates of the Catholic Church in relation to this year's presidential election, says René Emmanuel Sadi. So he says, while recognizing the right of all to freely express their opinions within the ambit of the laws of the Republic, the government deeply deplores the vehemence of some declarations focused solely on the presidential stakes and based on a misleading and inaccurate interpretation of the words of the President of the Republic. In this regard, it should be recalled that the President of the Republic has been invested with a 7-year mandate, which will run out in a few months. As such, it is entirely up to him to reassure his fellow citizens of his determination to fully assume it with the same enthusiasm and commitment. Now, that's some interesting piece of information there. You see, while the Minister of Communication is ranting and all not there, he recognizes that the very last statement Mr. Paul Biya made in his end-of-year address on the 31st of December 2024 is what has set the country ablaze much earlier than they would have expected. Is what has degenerated into this chaos that we are seeing in the very first days of the first month of the year 2025. Because Mr. Paul Biya concluded his speech by saying, I particularly appreciate the unwavering and massive support you have always given me over the years. It is this unwavering trust that has inspired my tireless efforts to meet your aspirations. Your trust is both an honor and a compass for my actions in steering our beloved and beautiful country. I can assure you that my resolve to serve you remains steadfast and grows stronger by the day as we address the immense challenges facing us. So the Minister of Communication is now trying to spin it around, to walk back this statement, to mean that Mr. Paul Biya was simply expressing his determination to complete the remaining year in his current 7-year mandate. Did you get that? When you find the government of the Republic of Cameroon trying to backtrack on such a situation in a communique by the Minister of Communication, it should tell you that they have seen the heat. If they were trying a test, they have seen for themselves that 2025 will be a bloody year in La République du Cameroun. And you see the discordant approach in addressing these concerns. While Atanga Nji is out there promising fire and brimstone and swearing on rooftops how he will crush, he will grind people, he will up, he will down throughout 2025, the Minister of Communication is trying to walk back the statement by the head of state. Now, this cacophony should tell you exactly what is at stake. I've told you a lot of these members of government will commit a lot of missteps and they will even climb on each other's toes as they are all fighting like the rope dance. Like in the rope dance I talked about in Gulliver's Travels by Jonathan Swift. And particularly the voyage to Lilliput. It is this discordant approach that will make things even worse. Let's continue. So he says, moreover, the government wishes to point out that Cameroon is a secular state where religions coexist in harmony and maintain peaceful relations with public authorities. This therefore implies that there is no conflict between the government and religious denominations, in this case, the Catholic Church. In the same vein, the government reaffirms that Cameroon is a democratic state that respects the rule of law, where citizens, whoever they may be, can freely, express themselves and make known their points of view on major issues of the nation. Now, you look at that. While the Minister of Communication is saying Cameroon is a democracy, where people can freely express their point of views on major issues, Atanga Nji is saying, try it. Atanga Nji is saying, try it. Atanga Nji is saying, yes, there could be freedom before speech, but freedom after speech is not guaranteed. But while the Minister of Communication is there swearing that people can express themselves and make known their points of view on major issues of the state. And he continues, he says, as a matter of fact, the government considers that the clear-cut declarations made by some religious authorities on the upcoming presidential election, which smack of pure speculation, are the sole responsibility of those authorities and can in no way call into question the relationship between the state and religious denominations, nor influence the free choice of Cameroonians, who will, when the time comes, make up their minds in all sovereignty and responsibility. You look at this. The Minister of Communication, spokesman of the government of Cameroon, is making his point and insisting that those people, even as individuals, are free to say what they want. Because at the end of the day, the people would decide by themselves with what they know or with the information they have in their hands. That is the spokesperson. But a certain terrorist called Atanga Nji has taken over the entire government. He even believes right now that he is vice president of the Republic of Cameroon. You will see again right ahead by people of Ambazonia. I said it's going to be really hot, extremely hot, especially as we got information clear from the mouth of the chamber of what they call a chambre de compte. I'm even forgetting the English appellation, that they have concluded all investigations on the mismanagement involved with money sent in by the World Bank to fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, we know Atanga Nji bit not less than 300 million from that money. Got donations from individuals and sold them back to the government for hundreds of millions. It took bullying by the Prime Minister for Atanga Nji to reverse some of the money. Not only him, Malachi Manauda. While the Minister of Communication is saying Paul Biya has not yet declared his candidature, Malachi Manauda, Minister of Public Health, is out there on the field saying the health personnel have said, hooray, Paul Biya, IOP 2025. Let's finish up. So, the minister says, by the way, with regard to his possible candidacy for the presidency of the Republic, President Paul Biya has clearly stated before that at the appropriate time, he will disclose whether or not he will be seeking re-election. As of now, any controversy on this issue is unnecessary. The government, therefore, invites everyone to stick to this answer, while urging all those who aspire to the presidential office to prepare themselves in the best possible way to take part in this election. The government is closely working with competent structures to ensure that this election is organized in a serene, transparent, and peaceful manner. So you see right there, the Minister of Communication has walked back the statement made by Mr. Paul Biya in his end-of-year address. Why? Because the country is already on fire. Very early in the year. And there is no indication that it's going to cease. Because even if people were to want to, at some point, try to forget a little, there is one man called Atanga Nji, who by his activism will never let this subject matter to cool off. That is why, even after making all the noise there, promising brimstone and hailstone and everything and all whatnot, Atanga Nji had not finished that. He flew very fast to Marwa, drove to Yagwa to go and meet the Bishop of Yagwa. In that picture, you are seeing Atanga Nji with the Bishop of Yagwa. Now, did he succeed? Did he not? What did he go to tell the Bishop of Yagwa? To threaten and to promise money. Because that is the approach of the Biya regime. To say, if it is money you want, this is money. But if you don't want money, we will kill you and nothing will happen to us. Because of course, they killed Monseigneur Bala, they killed Monseigneur Anjebenvam, they killed several Reverend sisters, they killed and killed and killed. They even killed Evangelist Westcott of the United States of America, Charles Westcott, who went to visit in Amazonia, or was on an evangelical visit. They have killed pastors, Reverend fathers, bishops. Nothing has happened to them. So that's when Mr. Atanga Nji went to tell Monseigneur, the Bishop of Yagwa, to tell him that you either take money, or if you don't want to take money, if you try. That's what he went to tell Monseigneur Yauda Urgo. Did he succeed? Did he not succeed? That's yet to be known. But looking at this picture, the body language in this picture tells you the meeting was tense, tells you the meeting was inconclusive. And again, another piece of evidence that the meeting was tense, inconclusive, and did not go well for Atanga Nji is that as soon as Atanga Nji returned to Yaoundé, he transformed himself from the Minister of Territorial Administration, from the Minister of Communication that he had usurped, from the Minister of Defense that he had usurped, from the Secretary of State in charge of the Gendarmerie that he had usurped, from the Delegate General for National Security that he had usurped, now to the Minister of External Relations. Because upon return to Yaoundé, he summoned the Apostolic Nuncio to Cameroon. That is the ambassador of the Vatican to Cameroon. Atanga Nji summoned him. You know, in the world of diplomacy, because the Vatican is a state, and so the Apostolic Nuncio is an ambassador. And in the circumstances where there's disagreement between two states and somebody has to summon the ambassador of that country. Someone, because that's a diplomatic step, a diplomatic move. Showing dismay. That is the role of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, not that of the Minister of the Interior. It's not the business of the Minister of the Interior. But in his activism, in all frantic efforts to avoid imprisonment, to show Mr. Biya that, you see, I am the only one, I am ready to die, I will kill anybody for you. Atanga Nji invited, summoned the apostolic nuncio to Cameroon. Whatever is someone will tell, like to say, tell the Pope that you should be very careful. If the Pope tries, I will kill even you. I will arrest even you. Parce que force reviendra à la loi. My people of Amazonia, I would die of laughter. I've told you people, there is danger in the enemy's camp. A lot of danger in the enemy's camp. I know you're watching anxiously, but because you have watched right up to this moment, because we'll have the last one, the most interesting one was reserved for the end, please support the struggle. Support this liberation movement. Rush quickly, pick up your phone, go to Zelle, go to PayPal, and quickly drop something in through amberrelief2018@gmail.com. By all means, support this liberation movement. And so, my people, evidence that is going to be a very steep hill to climb, not only for Atanga Nji, but for the government of La République du Cameroun with the church, is that this young priest, he's speaking in Cameroon, in Yaoundé. He has seen other priests assassinated rampantly, but he is speaking in Cameroon, in Yaoundé. Hear what he says.
Des déclarations, soit par des synodes, soit par des conférences, soit par des séminaires, soit par des prédications. C'est-à-dire, à tous les niveaux, les évêques exercent leur mission principale qui est celle d'enseigner. Donc, ils sont dans le cadre de l'enseignement. Et nous devons savoir que la doctrine sociale de l'Église, elle est motivée d'abord par ces principes majeurs. Le respect de la dignité humaine. Le respect du bien commun.
So you see, he's now saying that the main role of the church, of the bishops, of the priests, is to teach the word, is to preach the word. But he moves on. He extrapolates by saying, this involves ensuring the respect of human dignity, the respect for the common good. Really? May we finish up. Let's finish it.
Destinée universelle des biens, le principe de subsidiarité et le principe de solidarité entre les peuples. Dans un contexte comme le nôtre, où la corruption a fait son nid, les vols, détournements, les gens n'arrivent plus à vivre.
So it says in Cameroon, what has happened? Corruption, embezzlement have built their nest in La République du Cameroun. They've settled their bet in La République du Cameroun. People can no longer breathe. Life has reached a level where everybody is choking. That's what this young priest is saying. And he will conclude very interestingly, don't go away.
Les petits soins, l'eau, l'électricité, la santé, rien ne va. C'est la dignité de l'être humain qui est menacée. Et donc, les évêques ont l'obligation de sortir. Je leur dis d'ailleurs merci en ce début d'année.
So you see, he says everything is at stake in that country. The people have been deprived of everything, and that it is the role of the bishops, the role of the men and women of God, to rise to the occasion, to say enough is enough. And what does he say? He wants to thank them. He wants to congratulate them, those that have already risen and said the things that they have said. Here is conclusion.
D'avoir versé un peu d'eau bénite. Ils ont versé un peu d'eau bénite sur le Cameroun et le faisant, les démons de la malgouvernance et de la corruption sont en train de s'agiter. Parce que quand on verse l'eau bénite, justement, ce sont les démons qui s'agitent et c'est ce que nous constatons.
Did you hear that? He said the bishops have just sprinkled a bit of holy water on the country, and the demons of corruption, of embezzlement, of poor governance, the demons or whatever are already running, parading the streets, running all over the country. Atanga Nji, does that cap fit you? Begin to wear it. That they have sprinkled just a bit of holy water, which means they are still at Genesis. Hey, by the time they get to Malachi, maybe when they come out with incense, Abi, la République du Cameroun will be an interesting place to watch.
Vous ne répondez toujours pas à ma question, à ma question, Père. Je veux dire, vous avez dit que le magistère de l'Église s'exprime par des déclarations, mais des déclarations de...
So, my dear people of Ambazonia, this is the package I have for us today. So you see, La République du Cameroun is in a powder magazine. They know it. The people know it. And like I said, for the people of the southern Cameroons, for the people of Ambazonia, this is the time more than ever before for us to be vigilant. Because the demons of division, of confusion, will rise and they will become more ferocious within our liberation movement. Because La République du Cameroun will want to leave us with something to be fighting over, to be quarreling over, while they try to see if they can sort themselves out. In their rusted brains, they are imagining that they can continue to divide us so that we will fight against each other until they will go through chaos for years, finish that chaos, fix their house, and come back and colonize us. God forbid. That will not pass. That effort failed since yesterday. That's why I said we must continue to identify there are parachutes in our midst. And those people, we will know them because they always work together. Because the evil people always support each other. That is their chief strength. So we should watch out. We will see them. By their actions, by their associations, we will know them. And we have to be vigilant and we have to be careful. I want to thank each and every one of you who took time off to be part of this broadcast. I know it's pretty late into the night in the southern Cameroons, because we literally started about when it was about was it 1:30 a.m. We're already in the early hours of the morning in Ambazonia, but those of you who stayed up this late to be part of this very interesting broadcast, please make sure you share the link, share as much as possible, so that as many people as possible will watch and be edified. I want to thank all of you for your steadfastness, and of course, do not forget to support the struggle. To God be all the glory. Bye for now.